Well, welcome back to the summer series of podcasts. I'm hoping you've enjoyed them so far and sharing with family and friends and colleagues. This week's episode, I originally was just going to do a short episode on toileting that was meant to go with last week's with a mum who'd come to my Newcastle workshop. But we just started chatting and went all over the place, chatting about all sorts of things. And so I have actually changed the order of the podcast. So what I'm doing, I'm putting the end first and then swapping it and putting about toileting at the end of the podcast, just because I know that's not necessarily of interest to everyone. But I think you'll be fascinated to hear what is working for her son who has ODD and autism. She just shares so many ideas and insights. But more importantly, she came to my workshop at Newcastle with her husband and the massive difference that has made to them as a family. She shares so many great strategies she took away and put in place. And any of you have been to my workshops, I always say, it's about putting the stuff in place when you get home. Just take away 10 strategies to try. And oh my goodness, it was so inspiring. And I can't wait for you to listen to Melissa share what's changed for them and how many strategies they've put in place. And then if you're interested at the end, you'll hear what they've put in place or what worked for their son around holding his poos, which is very common for many of our children. And I know some of you that may be of interest anyway. So I've put at the front the bit most of you will be interested in, and then some of you might be interested in the end. If you know anyone who has a child who's holding poos, this episode would be great to share with them. So I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did the conversation. And as always, if you have any questions for me, feel free to email me, or if you want to come on the podcast and share some success, I would love to hear from you. Well, everybody, I'm so excited to have Mel join us to tell us about her journey of toileting her son. So welcome, Mel.
Thank you, Sue.
What I'm actually seeing since I saw you in Newcastle, you seem to be more at peace, Mel. You seem to be like...
I am.
Yeah.
100%. It's honestly, after your course, Sue, we felt we turned a corner. And just, I don't know, like it was an environment where everyone else from so many mixed backgrounds, like you had teachers, principals, parents, carers, we're all there together. It wasn't just allied health giving us advice, which has been amazing, don't get me wrong, but it felt more that community all together. And even my husband, who went reluctantly, I will say.
Yes, I know. He came in reluctantly.
I remember. Left a changed man, and he was the one that implemented the transition to the basketball outside for school. That was his doing.
It was worth those 6 hours just for that, because he feels empowered now. And I think a lot of my dads feel they don't go to all the allied health. They don't go to all these things. And then actually coming together, I always say to parents, like whether it myself or Tony Atwood, like hearing it from somebody, the dad sitting there and hearing it from someone, not their partner.
Yes.
Very powerful. And, you know, the dads are the highest listeners to my podcast.
Yeah, I would believe that.
Yeah.
He got so much out of it.
Because they can listen to the podcast in their own time and they can process it driving to work or going for a run. And it's not someone nagging them or telling them they should do stuff. That's what the dads tell me. They tell me. In fact, Andrew went to a 21st the other night and one of my dad listeners was there and he's like, is your wife here? And I was over in Adelaide looking after mum. He's like, no. He's like, oh, I wanted to meet her. I listened to her. I feel like I know her.
And, you know, the other big thing I had noticed my husband has been doing since your course is he's been proudly saying, I know we have an autistic son or an autistic and ADHD, whereas previously he'd go, look, I know Bo has some diagnoses, but even with a well-respected paediatrician telling him, I'd never heard him mention out loud that diagnosis, and he does it now.
Wow. I wonder what that is. Do you think because he sat in that community of comfort that you were talking about, and also I think seeing it as sitting in a room with a psychologist can be quite confronting, whereas sitting, as you say, sort of in that workshop with everyone else and in that community, but also hearing real stories about other children.
Definitely that, and it was me not saying it.
Yeah.
Like, the psychologist said, or the pediatrician said, or we should do this, we should do that. Kind of got like, I don't know, he zoned out if I started to talk about it, because he's just like, I don't want to hear this again.
Yeah.
Not that
Yeah.
he doesn't want to, that's harsh,
No,
but
no, no, no.
you
It's
know,
overwhelming. It's every
yes.
parent will tell you it's overwhelming, and every parent will tell you it's hard to process. And also, I mean, I read textbooks and stuff, and I can't relate that to the children I know and love and teach. Whereas I think when you come along to my workshop and we're more like working together, because it is more of a workshop. That's why I
It
don't
is.
call it a conference or a
Yeah, that's
course,
right.
right? We're actually going, oh, what does your child do when they are getting anxious, or what works in this situation for you? And so it's more like a case study of your own child or your own child in your classroom. So you're also going, oh yeah, they do that. Oh, they do that.
100%. Or now I understand a little bit as to why, the inside of how his brain works, how it must be so noisy, and the turmoil, and that also breaks my heart in a way, but just to help understand a little bit that when he's having those moments, you know what? He just needs someone to sit with him and shut up. Don't say a thing. Just sit there and be with him. Make sure he's safe.
Yeah.
But doesn't need me saying it's okay or anything. He knows if I'm there, it's okay.
Exactly. Like I think I said that day, I just don't see that on enough behavior plans. Just ignore it. Just give them some time and space. They'll come back when they're ready. Sometimes the worst thing you can do is get in the child's face, and just acknowledging that. But I think we have been taught as parents and even as teachers, you're meant to get in and do something. And sometimes our kids don't need us to do anything. They'll get there a little bit like your toileting. Well, I am hoping you are finding this podcast really interesting, finding insights and understanding. If it's inspiring you to come to a workshop in 2025, make sure you jump on my website and have a look. I have 2 live virtual workshops coming up on January 24th and February 5th. But if those dates don't work for you, you can always do my online on-demand course where you can watch from anywhere at any time. The reviews for both courses are amazing, and people always say to me, I wish I'd seen this earlier. I wish I'd come to your course earlier. I was just in a regional town last week, and there were high school teachers going, oh my goodness, I wish I'd had this earlier. And I've already had emails from them saying we've put in place strategies. It's incredible. And they're not hard to do. I think that's the thing. People are like, oh, but when you get the insights and understanding, then as you have just heard, you work out which battles to choose. I think that's what my courses are about. It's that giving you the understanding of, putting yourself in the child's shoes, which makes it so much easier to work out what's for you. Now, I haven't got any face-to-face workshops planned at this stage. I am planning to do some. I'm just not really sure with our sort of casual crisis whether people will be available to come to workshops in 2025. But if you want me to come to your area, just email me, or if your school's happy to host me, let me know. I want to get out there and make a difference. Like we can hear from this podcast, what a difference it makes when people get to come along and actually think and have like workshop. Like this is why my courses are called workshops. So I hope you can join me soon, and please share this with anyone that you think it could make a difference to. I'm so thrilled we can get together and share this, because I know it's going to inspire other parents that, taking on toileting is really difficult. And a lot of people who've toileted neurotypical kids think, oh, it's just easy. So tell us how it was with you and your beautiful boy.
Yeah, look, 100%. So my son, he's diagnosed autism level 2, and recently, the last year or so, ADHD. We had always suspected ADHD. It was just, the formal diagnosis once he started school. We started toilet training my son Beau. We started to try, I should say, during the COVID lockdown. He was 3, and we thought, well, we're home. Now's probably the perfect time that we can dedicate the time to it in the conventional style of putting him on the potty every 5 minutes, putting undies on him, exposure. We're home. It would have been the perfect time. We started off that way. The first day he was receptive to it, and he even did a wee in the potty, and then he freaked. He absolutely freaked to no end, and he completely then withheld. He He would not go on the potty. He would not even go near a toilet. We even had aversion to public toilets, like just coming in with me or his dad when we had to go. So it became a real issue. Then daycare, then they were trying to do the right thing in their wisdom, started to really push the toilet training and with all the other peers, and those toilets are open and communal toilets, so quite overwhelming as well. And they had the hand dryers, so loud noises, sensory, it was way too much. That even pushed him further to withholding. And look, we kind of got to the point with Bo, we went through a lot of psychologists and pediatricians and OT. And the thing that we realised with Bo is that he'll do it in his own time. Yeah. And we just had to follow his lead, basically. We kept on doing gradual exposure to the toileting. So he would go watch his dad. He'd come with me just to try and make, a normal, safe place, but with absolutely no pressure for him to do anything. Look, that continued right up until the Christmas before he had to go into kindergarten. And we were talking to teachers and everything, and he was going into a mainstream Catholic school. We were talking with teachers, etc., as to how we were basically going to change pull-ups. And also the bullying that we were really worried that was going to be associated with that. And then that Christmas, he just decided. The thing we're learning with Bo is that he will not do anything until he is ready. And literally within a day, he went from doing wheeze on the toilet to the next day doing number twos to never, ever having an accident being completely done.
And this is what so many parents tell me, Mel. And this is why I just wanted you to share your journey, because I don't want parents to lose hope. And I love that you kept taking him to the toilet, because this is what I say to parents. The first stage, see, neurotypical toddlers go in and out of the toilet. I used to say when I had my 3 kids, if I can't find a child, I'll go to the toilet because they'll all appear, right?
Yep.
Neurodiverse children often don't follow families in and out of the bathroom, so then they don't desensitize. And as you just said, like the overwhelming in the preschool with the open toilets and the hand dryers. So you just made it like normal routine. I'm off to the toilet. We're all off to the toilet. La-di-da-di-da. No pressure. And then the penny dropped. Now, I can't tell you how often I hear this, and this is why I really, really value coming on and sharing. Yep. That Yen Lawson says they get there, they just get there in their own time. Definitely. And, this is even with schooling, we're like, you've got to read by this stage, you've got to do this. Actually, some of our kids are going to take longer, but they're still going to get there. Let's not give up. Yeah.
100%. As soon as we took away the pressure at home, the pressure at daycare, I had to talk to the daycare, and I must admit, they weren't happy with it because it was inconvenient for them to have to change a pull-up for a 5-year-old. Once we took the pressure off it and we stopped talking about it, but just did it in I use the word the gradual exposure because that's what our psychologist said. And, even if it was just going to the bathroom and looking at the pictures of the diggers we had on the wall, which was his obsession at the time.
And this is a key. I mean, I've had another mum on that made it all about Dora, and there was Doras in there, and even not using the word toilet, like we're off to see the diggers, we're off to see Dora, like just being more enthusiastic, like I say with some families, even the word school. Don't say the word school. Like we're off to go and play on the monkey bars. Like there are words,
play with your mates.
Yeah. There are words that just freak these kids out. Like if you said to me, there's a spider, I'd be like,
100%. And I think that's partly as well where his oppositional defiance came in. The more we pushed, the more he was like, you know what? No way. I'm going to do it on my own time. I'll do it when I'm ready. And he did.
So do you think he's oppositional defiant, or do
definitely.
You think, yeah. I was thinking that when you said the description of him in the beginning, I'm like, I'm pretty sure he's ODD from what I've heard from you, but I didn't want to jump in there. So
sorry, I should have added that to his diagnosis. Yes,
but I think it's
and anxiety, like it all kind of just goes in my mind together these days.
No, 100%. And ODD for me, my ODD kids and my PDAs are the ones that hold. I mean, the fact he could just hold, and like that is amazing in itself that he could do that, but it also shows that control and the fear. Like, which is it? Is it him controlling or him fear? And I would tend to go with fear. Yeah.
100% it was fear. You'll remember in my wisdom, I was following the conventional toilet training, and I was giving him drinks every 5 minutes, and this kid was loaded, like his eyeballs were rolling, and he still withheld until the second he had a pull-up on. Then he went, and it leaked out the pull-up. It was that much. But the defiance to, I don't know how he did it. And again, I look back and I feel bad that I was doing that, but there was so much peer pressure from good-meaning people, family, friends, everything you read that, if you're not toilet trained by 3 or 4, you have a problem. I've learned that not just toilet training, everything with these kiddos has to be on their own terms.
Yeah. Follow the lead. And that's what you said at the beginning, follow the lead. And but what I love is you followed the lead and what Temple Grandin's mum calls the loving push. You still took him to the toilet, but you didn't push too hard. You just gave that loving support. If I'm off to the toilet, we're doing all these things. So this is where, you're amazing. And I probably should have said at the beginning, I met Mel because she came to one of my workshops in Newcastle, and it was so lovely to have you there, because often parents don't come along and not sure if it's for them. So if there are any parents wondering if they should do one of the workshops, has it been valuable for you? I'll put you on the spot.
No, 100%. It has honestly been one of the most valuable things we have done in Beau's whole journey of diagnosis. Like, yes, OT, pediatricians, psychology, it's all been very helpful, but your course just, in a couple of ways, it made it normal. It made us realise that, following our guts by taking his lead is the right thing to do. This is our normal boy, in inverted commas.
Yes.
It's not a normal conventional approach to things. Even last weekend, he suddenly just said, want the training wheels off my bike. And we just went, what? And took the training wheels off, and he, no word of a lie, rode out of the driveway like he'd been riding for 6 months with no training wheels.
Yeah.
But again, there was no pressure on that, and that was when he was ready. He did it.
Yeah.
But your course, like, we keep looking for the next one. Even my husband said, when's Sue coming back? We should go see her because I want to ask this and that, and really helpful.
Thank you. And it was so lovely you both came along. I know I have a lovely couple who live outside Wagga, and she always, for her birthday or Valentine's Day, is like, can we go to Sue again? And I always laugh. And one year her dad came because he was like, who is this Sue? And so
well, in fact, my parents have asked to go because, they're grappling with Beau's diagnosis and his behaviours and meltdowns and, when he lashes out. And I said, just go to this. Like, so much Sue can tell you in 6 hours that I can try to, explain, but I won't do it well. Sue just does it concisely and you get it.
You're making me cry.
Like the cab talk, the GPS.
Yes.
That just sticks in my head.
Yeah. I've got a new thing to add to that GPS. So I was going somewhere the other day and it showed me 3 different ways to go there. And I thought, for an ODD child, still getting to the same destination, it's just how different ways. But the one that made me laugh, now in Sydney, it tells you how much it's going to cost. For some of my ODD kids, if parents try and take them on the wrong route, it's going to cost you a lot of energy and tears.
And that is a big thing, learning as well to pick your battles.
Yeah.
Like, in the scheme of it, is it worth it? Probably not. And if it keeps my sanity for half a day more, then that's probably the bigger battle, so I can have the battle at nighttime when you're not having your shower or whatever.
And I'm hoping you got that in that course, that choose your battles. Like,
definitely.
What is the goal? What is the point here? What, you're going to prove to him that you're right and the boss? Well, he's not going to respond to you being like that. He's going to respond more to that loving push. And then when he says, I want my wheels off. Yeah.
100%. The ODD just literally sticks the middle finger up at you. Just go, no, mum. I know you're the boss, but
And if we see that middle finger as more, I need help, because when I'm teaching my kids, and as you would have known at that workshop, kids are telling me some terrible things, but I just don't see it like that. I see it like, hey, I need your support now. I'm really stressed. I don't know what to do. I'm scared I'm going to make a mistake. If I see that language or whatever, just like if I swear at my GPS, it doesn't react.
Yeah. As much as you want it to.
As much as I want it to say, shush.
But with the GPS, like you said, it gives 3 options. That would overwhelm Bo.
Yeah.
My son. Like he wants options, but he also needs direction, but he needs to make the decision.
Thank you. It's so hard to explain that to people. You just sum that up so well, because often teachers struggle with that. They're like, well, children need, I'm like, but choices are overwhelming, because then he's like, do I choose this one, that one, that one? And then he chooses one and wants the other one and doesn't know how to go back on that. And you can hear my anxiety for it.
Yeah, it's like a choice paralysis in a way. Yes. She's like, you know what? I don't know what to do, so I'm just going to literally go back into like the fetal position, and because that's my safe place.
Yeah, so it is a paralysis. And in fact, I've just got a new course out on executive functioning with Dean Beadle, who's on the spectrum. And he introduced me to this term called autistic inertia. Okay. And I used to call it ADHD paralysis.
Yeah.
But I get with autistic inertia, even though your son might know something good's coming up, he can't get over the first hurdle to get to those things.
Yep.
And that paralysis, and if the choice is the first thing in the day, he's stuck on the choice. And that's why routines are so powerful.
Oh, my God.
Routines are so powerful. Yeah.
Routine is key. And the other thing we learned from your course is transitions.
Yeah.
Like we've just been starting doing a transition before school where we go outside, he can ride the scooter or play basketball for 5 minutes, but at least we're outside, he's dressed, he's got his shoes on, he just then jumps in the car.
Great.
We're not having that fight to get outside, put your shoes on. Where's your other shoe? How have you lost a shoe?
Then your anxiety goes up and his follows suit, and then he's going to get oppositional. I love this. 100%. This is so good. We could talk all day, but I promise you it only takes 10 or 15 minutes of your time, Mel.
There was also one other thing I was going to say, Sue, was when we started the toilet training, we were doing the reward charts. Nut had no effect. Jelly beans, lollies, you name it. He even wanted, his hyper focus at the time was, as I said, diggers and construction. He wanted this big brood digger toy that was like $120. And so like I had brought it, and it sat in a cupboard for 6 months and he knew even then that what he saw it, he touched it, but he knew that like I was holding it out until he went. That was not even enough incentive. And that was the one toy that he wanted more than anything in the world. But the fear of doing the toileting, he couldn't do it. So again, that was one of the things I'm just like, you know what, just have it in the end. He looked at me and he went, what, Mum? I said, you know what, mate, I know you're trying, but you can't do it. And I said, in life, it's only just about trying, whatever it is, here, have the toy.
I love it. And I just hope parents listening and even teachers, sometimes we just have to give the child the thing, like they are trying. He actually was trying. And you've heard me say, if a child's in a wheelchair, we don't tell them try harder to walk. We give them the ramp and the wheelchair.
That's right.
He was trying harder than anyone.
Yeah. It was just this internal fear and anxiety for whatever reason. And even his meltdowns, who knows whatever reason it is, but it's something to him that has set him off.
Correct.
And each day will be different.
He got there in his own time and space. And I think that's the same with the meltdowns. But also what you're saying, like just having those little 5-minute transition activities, the low demand. So for people who don't know why the basketball, so I always say you can't go from straight to a high demand like school. You've got to have a low demand task, a little 5-minute low demand task. So you're doing little 5-minute low demand tasks so he can be ready for a high demand.
Correct.
Yeah, because getting ready for school is a high demand. For you and me, getting dressed, getting ready is not a high demand, but for him, that is a high demand.
Very much so. And I know, slightly digressing here, but he had massive separation anxiety at school, and it was getting quite bad with having to do drop-offs. But even now, like we're able to go to the kiss and ride part. See your mum, gives you a kiss. Even now, it's getting to the point where you can't kiss because my mate's around, and walks in. But to him, that's still a high demand task because it's taking that extra bit for him to walk in on his own now, even though he's done it for a year.
Yeah.
You can't underestimate.
Congratulations. This is massive. listening in awe compared to when I saw you and you're like exhausted. And
we were, and it's really hard, but I think you kind of have to not hit rock bottom, but you have to go low to kind of understand the way up, which sucks as a parent of neurodiverse kids. It really does. It's a hard journey. He had the color run the other day, and I knew it was going to be sensory overload for him, like wet and then color and running. Like, I wouldn't want to do it. Why should we make him do it? To his credit, I said, just stay home. Like, I'll give you a day off. He said no, and I'm going, and I'm wearing a white shirt. And he did a lap. He had a meltdown after, but he tried.
He did it. I love it. I know
he did it.
One of my dad's ones that reminds me of that, where his son really wanted to go on a plane. He was really into transport and went on the plane, and they made it the whole trip. And his son got out at the airport, ran straight to the first bin and just vomited.
Oh, he kept it in.
I often think of that like that was a physical vomit, but your son held it together to the end and then literally had that, even though it was a meltdown, not a vomit, his whole body gave up after that. And
100%. And it was only when he saw me, not his dad. Not that dad's not the safe place, right? No. But he knows that when he sees me, I do have to cop the worst of the behaviour, because as much as it sucks, it's his safe place.
100%. Yeah. And you'd also said to him, mate, you can stay home, and given him that out. And I can't tell you how often I give children an out and they choose an in, especially with our oppositional children. You don't have to. And then, oh no, I want to do it,
And like, I don't offer days off.
No.
Okay, like, because with Bo, and I imagine it's with most of these neurodiverse kids, is you give an inch, it takes a mile.
Yeah, 100%.
So you can't just give a day off because it's raining or storming.
No.
So it was rare for me to say, just have the day off. Just do it. I don't want to do it. Why should you?
I've just worked out what's changed. You've worked out which battles to choose now.
Yes, definitely.
That's what's changed. I think before you were constantly overthinking, that's why you're exhausted.
Yep.
I'm just hearing when you said that, I'm like, you know which battles to choose now. You're like, okay,
100%.
Colour run, not a battle we're going to have. Yep. It's a one-off. But, the dropping off, the separation anxiety, we're going to work on that. We're going to do that. I think the penny just dropped me. I'm like, you know which battles to choose. I'm not going to say you always get it right, but you're like, okay, he's going to have meltdowns with me, not Dad. That's okay.
It's like you kind of prepare yourself for it.
Yeah.
I know that when I pick him up from school, he won't eat all day or have water. He doesn't regulate his temperature well. So he's going to, especially on a hot summer's day, I am now going armed with food and drinks. And like that itself, Sue, I cannot tell you, as much been a game changer, because by the time it's literally a 7-minute drive from his school to my son's daycare, by the time we get to my son's daycare straight after, he's calm and regulated because he's had food, drink, he's calm, even thongs, so he can take his socks and shoes off.
I love it. So again, this is something I talk about in the workshop.
Pick your battles.
We don't rule out toilet food, drink enough for our kids. And I've just had a dad who's exactly the same. His son goes to before school care and won't eat breakfast before because he's anxious, right? And not awake really. He's only 5. And so he was having the massive meltdowns when he picked him up after school on the before school days. And I said, just turn up with a drink, turn up with a snack, don't ask any questions, just put him in the car, give him the food. Within a week, I get a text going, Sue, I can't believe it was that simple.
And that's what it is. Obviously, it's often simple things, but you're right. It's picking the battles, just taking somehow in the chaos, taking the step back and going, all right, is this worth it?
Yeah.
And I still remember.
And for teachers, what's the educational outcome? What's the child going to learn from this? And if you just ask yourself that, what is the educational outcome? Because if you push too hard, this kid, you're going to ruin your relationship with them. Like, I don't want to ruin that relationship. I want them to think I'm their biggest cheerleader,
And I think it was you that said, it's like, we're really their only advocate. So if we don't fight for them, who will?
I know.
And after your course, I went to school and asked for the learning plan, and it was all like teaching points.
Yeah.
And I got quite, I wouldn't say cranky, but I was quite frustrated and stern to him. I'm like, where is the support for his emotional needs? You know, like, why are we not making sure that he has his loopy plugs or the headphones available for music class?
Yeah.
Or he can go outside to a safe place. Like, and they looked at me with this blank face.
Mm.
And they're amazing teachers.
It's not their
Amazing.
fault. It's not their
And
fault. They haven't been trained in this. You know, the schools that I'm doing the uplift with this year, our question is every meeting, what is the ramp? What is the ramp we've built for this child? Not what are we going to teach them? What are the supports we need to put in place? You know, it's easy, easy to change the structure and change the child. So putting the AirPods in, there's a structural change. Now, this was meant to be a 15-minute podcast. It's ended up being a whole podcast episode.
Sorry, Sue.
No, I am so sorry because I know how precious your time is. And I'm like, Mel, I only need 15 minutes. But I know this is going to warm people's hearts and be like so valuable. And thank you for coming on, because I know it's, I'm sure you were like, oh, what am I doing? But this is just exactly what people need to hear. And
my absolute
good
pleasure.
luck. And good luck with next year, with transitioning to a new year. And just congratulations to you, both of you.
Thank you. Thank you again. It's anyone who's on the fence for your course. Like, and I'm not saying this as a sell piece. Like, it has been firsthand so worthwhile. Yeah.
Stop it. Oh,
really
making me cry.
And even the podcast and stuff.
I'm going to stop before I burst into tears. Okay. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this podcast as much as I did chatting to Mel. Like, everything from avoiding trigger words to that transition from high demand to low demand. If you want to learn more strategies like that, I highly recommend you consider doing a course with me this year, whether it's live, virtual, online, on demand. If you want to know more about PDA, the 2-hour course with Laura Kirby, which is an amazing course. It was our most popular course in 2024. The reviews were incredible. For insights and understanding from an educator on PDA, I highly recommend you think about doing that course. So have a think. What are your goals for this year? Do you want to learn? How do you learn best? And look, please email me if you're not sure. It can be quite overwhelming, all the different courses, knowing where to start and what to do next. And in fact, next week's episode is where I talk through with someone where to go next after doing my sort of signature main course. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss next week's episode and hear me chatting about what course to do and why.